Okay, so a relation is a set of ordered pairs. It can be represented by a set of ordered pairs. So the table also has your ordered pairs, but the set of ordered pairs will be in parentheses with the comma, okay? That's the ones that tell you to go left, right, and then up, down. It can be represented by a table. So this right here is my table. It can be represented by a graph. Here's my graph. Or it can be represented by mapping, and this is probably the one that's the newest to you. A mapping has like two circles. The first circle represents the numbers in the x coordinates, and then the y is the second circle, which is the y coordinates. And then they show how they are matched up. A mapping illustrates how each element of the domain, which is your x, that is the x, domain is called the x, is paired up with an element in the range. And the range is another name for the y column. The set of all x values in the ordered pairs, again, are called the domain. And the set of all possible y values are called the range. Okay, that's very, very important. That is the biggest thing that you need to know right now. Domain is always x, always, always, always. That is your x-axis, which goes across. That will be your first column in the table, and that will be your first column in a mapping. The range, which is the y-axis, the y goes up and down on your graph. It is the second column in your table, and it is the second column in your mapping, okay? The domain for this relation, so let's look at, I have example, these all represent the same thing. So like 1, 1, that is the ordered pair 1, 1, okay? This column tells you go left, right. The second column tells you go up, down. So go to the right one, up one. There is 1, 1, and see 1 matches with 1. They're all representing the same thing. The next point that we have, and so I'm just going to go through all the points first. 0, 2 is this ordered pair. Remember, you would stay put and then go up 2, and 0 goes with 2. And then I have 3, negative 2. So 3 and then down 2, so 3 goes with negative 2. So the domain for this is the numbers in the x column. So the domain is 0, 1, and 3. The range is the numbers in the y column, 1, 2, and negative 2. Now, the thing that you have to realize is that these have to be in order from least to greatest. So the least is 0, 1, 3. So this should be the correct order. And then the range is negative 2, 1, 2. So that's least to greatest. Now, let's try this. So I have some ordered pairs for you, and I'm going to do number 2, and I'm going to have you go back and do number 1. On number 2, these are my ordered pairs. Now the first number is always your x, the second number is always your y, okay? So remember, this column is your x column, so that's always the very first number, okay? That always goes first. So I have 0, and then 4 goes in the y. Negative 4, and then negative 4. Negative 2, and 3, and then 4, and 0, okay? Now, to graph them, remember, the first number tells you go left, right. The second number tells you go up, down. So you're going to stay put, and then you're going to go up 4. So stay put, go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This ordered pair, is negative 4, negative 4, right? It's right there. It's the same thing. So this tells me to go to the left, and then I'm going to go down. So I'm going to go left 4 and down 4. Negative 2, 3 tells me to go to the left, and 3 tells me to go up. So down, left 2, up 3. And then I'm going to go to the right 4, and I'm going to stay put. Okay? Now there are my points. Now, I've already put them on the graph. Now I'm going to look at my map. The mapping, I'm going to take the values in the X column, I'm going to put them in the first one. And it doesn't matter. I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest. So -4, -2, 0, and 4. And on the other side, I'm just going to randomly put these numbers in because I want to show you that the arrows, you match up who goes together, okay? So like 0 goes with 4. So I'm going to draw an arrow from 0 to 4. So they may not always be directly across from each other. Another one that we have is -4 goes with -4. So -4 with -4. I have -2 goes with 3. So -2 goes with 3. And then the last one, 4 goes with 0. So 4 goes with 0. There's my mapping, okay? Now, you try number 1, and before we go any further, remember to make your mapping, your domain and range. This is not on your paper, but please write that down. D stands for domain, so D is domain. And R stands for range. The domain is always your x-axis, okay? It is always your x-axis. What numbers are my x-axis? Sorry, couldn't get that out. That is the ones that are in my yellow right here, the X column. And you want to go from least to greatest. So that's going to be -4, -2, 0, and 4. That's my domain. The range is from the Y column. The Y column goes up and down on your graph. And the numbers in order from least to greatest are -4, 0, 3, and then 4. When these domain and range are listed, you always order them least to greatest. Okay? You always do least to greatest. That's how you're going to see it. And so you need to get used to recognizing it. They're not going to just go in the order that's on the table. They're going to put them in order from least to greatest. Okay, so you're going to do number 1 by yourself, and you can pause it and go back and look at that. We'll talk about it. Now, that was your mapping, okay? Now we're going to look at independent and dependent. The variable x, okay, remember x is your domain, okay? It is also the input. It's what you plug in. When we say plug it in, that's the number we plug in. That is also the independent value. It is also called the independent value. It stands alone. It's what determines everything else. So the domain, the input. And the way I like to remember input and independent, they're both in. So the variable x is your input, it's the independent. The set of values, set of x values, is also called the domain. You've got to know that name. It's like your bread and butter, the domain and range. So set of x values is called the range. Now we're going to look at the y. The variable y is called the output. So it is your answer. The input is what you plug in. The output is what you get out. It is your answer. Okay? And then, or instead of the independent, it is the dependent. It relies on the other one. Like when you go to the store and you go to check out, well, the money that you give the cashier depends on how many groceries you bought. So the cost depends on how many groceries you bought. So the dependent relies on something before you can determine the answer. The set of y values is called the range. Okay? It's called the range. Now, this is very basic knowledge that you've got to know. You've got to know domain is the x values. You've got to know range is the y values. Okay? So let's look at a couple of examples. So it says $25 per hour. Remember I told you those magic words? Each, every, per. Those are all magic words. Rate, in. Sometimes you'll see, it just depends on the wording. But like this says $25 per hour. So you're getting $25 for each hour. The per, like if I worked 3 hours, that'd be 25 times 3. If I work 7 hours, that'd be 25 times 7. So the equation is the money equals 25. So I'm starting with 25. Per is times, and what can I use for hour? H. Okay, the independent, now the independent, that is my H. My hours affects how much money I get. So my dependent is the money. When you work, the more hours you work, the more money you get. Okay, so the amount of money depends on the number of hours. Let's look at the next one. So I have 4 bars each student. Okay, here's my magic word, each. So the equation, each student gets 4 bars. So the number of bars, how many bars do I need to go get? Well, it depends on how many students are in the room. So 4 bars for each. So 4 each is times, and I can use S for students. So 4 times S. The independent is always, always, always behind the 4. So the independent is the number of students. And the number of students affects how many bars that you're going to buy. So the dependent is the bars, the independent is the students. 15 birds per person. Okay? So per each person, like when you go shooting, let's say each person's allowed 15 birds. Okay? So if 3 people are shooting, 15 plus 15 plus 15, that's 15 times 3. So 15 times, and I'm going to use P for person. That tells me how many birds. So I can either put the B equals in front, or I can put it after. It's the same thing. What is my independent? The independent is always after the per. It tells me what we're starting with. So person, and it depends, the person depends, the person affects, pardon me, the number of birds that are shot. The number of people depends how many birds are shot. So the birds depend on the people. Okay? So, sorry, I got distracted inside of that. All right, now the next one. 5 points for every. For every is times. And you can try the last 2, and we will check those tomorrow.